Welcome back to another episode of Torque. Well, it's another great day because we are installing a brand new rear end in that 1965 Mustang convertible. So let's head out to the barn and get to work. Alright, so this has been a long day coming, and the reason I say that is because from the time I ordered the rear end to the time I received all the pieces were 9 weeks. And normally I go to Mosier, which is about 2 hours north of here, but Quick Performance, I could not beat their price. They were so much lower than Mosier, and we got everything we needed. We got a brand new 4.9-inch rear end, we got a center section, new axles, new brakes, everything. So I haven't even opened up the center section box yet to take a look at it. I've been so busy. So we're going to go ahead and try and assemble everything right in back of the Mustang, including the new leaf springs. We're going to roll it underneath and we're going to bolt this up. Right, so this is everything that we got from Quick Performance: the housing, the shock mounts, the U-bolts, all the bolts to mount the center housing, along with the bearing retainers, center section, the axles, and we had that Willwood brake kit. That was all included, and the price for all this was $3,550 delivered. First thing we're going to do, we're going to install these studs, and these are very similar to just a wheel stud. I have the little knurled section on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and install these. I have a 3/8 fine thread nut that I just got, an old one, just to pull these through, because the nuts that come with these are a nylock, and you don't want to use those until you're actually torquing on that center section. So we're going to stack up a bunch of washers on this and see if we can't pull this up. I don't know if my air ratchet's going to have enough power behind it to actually pull it up, but we're going to see. Well, it doesn't have enough power, so we're going to have to ratchet the rest of it up. No big deal. Alright, since we've got all those in and we're getting really close to putting that center section in, there's a whole bunch of little pieces of paint and little tiny bits of metal in there. Make sure you get all that stuff out before you put that center section in. You don't want any of that stuff floating around in your oil. Alright, so the kit doesn't come with a gasket for your center section, so I went down to O'Reilly. I got a Felpro gasket. I always like using the Felpro. You can see the number on this, RDS 55074. I'll put that in the description. So we're going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to put, I like using Forma gasket, and I'll put a little coat on both sides of this gasket. Try and get the best seals we can. Alright, so what I'm going to use for this stuff is called the Right Stuff. It's their 90-minute gasket maker. I love this stuff. I've never had any issues with this. It gets really good reviews. So I'm going to go ahead and coat one. We're going to put it on, coat the other side, and then we're going to get that center section in. Make sure you get on both sides of that bolt hole, especially the inner portion. Let's seal this up as best as we can. Alright, let's go ahead and put this in place. Let's do it all over again. Alright, let's go ahead and drop this center section in. I'm going to go ahead and get all these nuts started. That center section is going to want to flip this thing upside down. You just got to be aware of that. We are going to use the air ratchet, snug these down. We've got to torque these to 35 foot-pounds. There's going to be a couple at the bottom you're not going to be able to get to, not with a socket.
Can't even get to it with a gear wrench. But I do have a wrench that it's an old wrench that's got really thin walls on it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and install these seals. I got a kit from Harbor Freight 10 or 15 years ago. You know, this is a tool that you just don't use that often, which is why this is a perfect Harbor Freight tool. All right, so no help today. I'm all by myself, but we're still going to try and install these leaf springs on this rear end. These leaf springs are from Global West. They're 1-inch lowered leaf springs. They have Dell bushings on them, so hopefully this handles really well. It should. The rear end itself, you know, it's quick performance. This is a 3-inch tube. The original one that came out, I believe it's 2 3/4, and the next down to like 2 1/4. So you have to have the 3-inch U-bolts. You always want to replace these anyway. And then also the shock plate itself, it's got a wider bolt pattern because of this 3-inch tube, so you're going to have to replace this as well. This is from Quick Performance too. So with that, let's go ahead and install these leaf springs. All right, so with these loosely installed, if I push on the back, you can see that this is pretty well balanced right now. So that's a great thing. So I'll get some help. We'll put a couple rags on that jack. We'll jack it up from the bottom of the pumpkin, and we'll get those front bushings installed, and then we'll jack it up some more, and we'll get those back shackles installed. I'm gonna go ahead and put this rear end in. We got it up on the jack. All right, so we have to lower it down so the leaf springs drop a little bit, and then we can start putting our shackles in. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put the shackle in. Now notice there's a little trick to doing that. The inside, this inside nylon, those almost like plastic bushings, they have to be pushed out because this shackle has to come in from the outside in. You're gonna have a 400 thousandths Teflon, and then this is a 100 thousandths, and we're going to come in from the outside, and then I'll push these bushings onto the bolts. We'll put our outer plate on. Well, first we'll put our washers on, then we'll put our outer plate and then the nuts. Let's go ahead and put this together. So you have to take it, you have to come in at an angle. And now let's see if we can't push this in. We push that one out a little bit, so here we go. Push this one in. All right, there we go. I'm gonna put our outer washer on. I'm gonna have to adjust that leaf spring a little bit, but we'll get those on. The plate. Let's go ahead and get these nuts started. All right, so we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. And once I get those in, I'm going to loosen up those U-bolt so that this thing can kind of float in center, so we relieve all pressure on this. Then we'll tighten this up, and then we'll tighten the U-bolts up. All right, so we're going to repeat the same thing on this side. And remember, this is a 400 on top, 400 thickness washer, 100 on the bottom. The two on the inside are actually 200 thousandths a piece. So we'll put those in on the inside. See ya. All right, so let's go ahead and loosen up those U-bolts a little bit, let it float, and then we'll tighten these up to the specification. All right, so I'm moving that washer, that Teflon washer, both sides. The outer side is a little bit tighter. Inside, You can hear it moving around. I'm going to tighten this down until this snugs up. Okay. They're both kind of tough to turn. This one turns a little bit more. Now we're going to go 1/8 of a turn more. And that snugged it up. They're not moving at all. So let's go ahead and do the same to the bottom. I can move this outer one. The inner one is a little bit tighter. So I'll move this till this is snugged up. Okay, it just stopped turning. All right, turned. Stopped right there. 1/8 of a turn. There we go. So those two are set. All right, so we're going to go ahead and torque up this forward lower leaf mount bolt to 65 foot-pounds. All right, so these U-bolts are 1/2-inch U-bolts. I've got them loosened up. You can see the whole plate is moving around. I'm going to progressively torque these up. The torque on these is 65 to 75 foot-pounds. So we'll start off with about 30 foot-pounds and work our way up. There we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and install the axles. These axles are a 31 spline. The bolt pattern is 1/2-inch bolts, 5x4.5 pattern, and that's exactly what we have on the front. We'll have to add gear oil, which I'm not going to show you guys. Pretty simple process. 80-90, and then add some posi additive. And yeah, that's about it. Let's go ahead and install these axles and complete this assembly. All right, let's go ahead and install this rear axle. We are putting wheel-wood brakes on the rear end of this thing. So this is the brake, or the inner brake for the parking. Actually, we're going to put this assembly on first, and I will show you guys the assembly of the rear brakes on the next video. It's going to be a pretty quick video for this. So we'll just put these on these T studs. And now we'll be able to slide the axle in. I do have gear oil on this axle, just so it doesn't mar up the seal. Now this is what we're using to retain that axle. This comes with the kit from Wheelwood. You can see it's kind of like a horseshoe, and the open end goes up. This axle is pretty snug fit. I just have my soft mallet, and it's going right in. And we will be able to start these nuts. We have to put a lock washer on as well. Start those, and we'll be able to draw that bearing right in. Like I said, the bearing retainer is supposed to be installed up. This is for the other side. It does have, you can see it has a lip on this. You can see that the lip goes in. This has to be against the bearing. That lip is going to be going inboard to press against that bearing. Make sure you put it that way. So we're going to go ahead and torque this down to 30 foot-pounds. Those are 3/8 bolts. That's the spec for it. So we're going to go ahead and set up and get those torqued. You want to make sure you do this kind of evenly, so I'm only going to put a little bit of pressure on each one. All right, like I said previously, 30 foot-pounds. All right, let's just go ahead and repeat the same sequence. This quick performance Ford 9-inch rear end went together really smoothly. And like I said previously, it was a lot cheaper than what I could have gotten one from Mosier. So next episode, I'm going to continue the installation of these Wheelwood brakes. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you on another episode of Torqued.